This video is about circles. So in this video, we're going to learn how to write the equation of a circle in graphing form, identify the center and the radius of a circle from its equation, and graph a circle given an equation. So the basic form for the graph of a circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Your center is represented by the h and the k values, and your radius is represented by the r. So let's look at some equations of a circle, and we need to find the radius and the center. So number one, we have the quantity x plus 8 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 36. Remember that it's x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So we want h and k to take out the opposite signs. So in this case, if we have a positive 8, our center coordinate's going to be -8. If we have a -3, our y coordinate's going to be +3. To get the radius, we need to find the square root of what it's equal to. So the square root of 36 means that our radius is 6. Number two, quantity x minus 9 squared plus y squared equals 81. So for my x coordinate, I would pull out a 9. Y, there's nothing being added or subtracted, so we would say it's 0. My radius, I need to take the square root of 81, so my radius would be 9. In number 3, we have to take out the opposite signs again. So we have the quantity x minus 3 squared plus y plus 7 squared equals 4. So when I take out the opposite signs, my center is 3, -7, and my radius is the square root of 4, which is equal to 2. Now we're going to go in reverse. So you are given the center point and the radius, and you need to write the equation of the circle. So for my center, I would have x minus, because my coordinate's positive, so x minus 11 squared, plus y minus 3 squared, because it was positive, so it gets the opposite sign, equals my radius squared. So I need to do 4 squared, which is 16. Remember that you always need to square your radius to get this number at the end of the equation. So in number 5, my center is at -5, 4, and my radius is 8. So my equation here would be x plus 5 squared, because I take the opposite sign, plus y minus 4 squared equals, and we need to do 8 squared, and we get 64. Now let's use the equation of the circle to graph. So in number 6, we have the equation x squared plus y squared equals 36. So my center, I'm going to look at x and y. No number is being added or subtracted, which means my center is at 0, 0. And my radius is equal to the square root of 36, which is 6. So in order to graph my circle, I'm going to plot my center point at 0, 0. And then I'm going to use my radius in 4 directions. I'm going to go up 6, right 6, down 6, and left 6, all based off of the center, and now I connect them to make a circle. Number 7, we have the quantity x minus 3 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals 16. So in this case, my center, I'm pulling out the numbers with opposite signs. So my center is at 3, 2, and my radius is equal to the square root of 16, which is 4. So I'm going to start my graph at 3, 2 for the center. I'm going to go up 4 from that point, right 4 from that point, down 4 from the center, and left 4 from the center, and then I'm going to connect them to form my circle. We can also work in reverse, where you are given the circle and you need to write the equation of the circle. So looking at number 8, they gave us our center point. So our center is at the point 3, -3. Then from the center, I can pick any direction and count how far to the circle. So I went up 1, 2. so my radius is equal to 2. So my equation then would be x minus 3, because I need the opposite sign, squared, plus y plus 3 squared equals my radius squared, so 2 squared is 4. In number 9, it's a little bit harder because they don't give us a center. So I just need to see where a line between my two diameters would meet. So this would be my center point. So now that I've identified my center point, the coordinate of my center here is -5, -2. And my radius, I would count how far to one of the dots. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have a radius of 4. So my equation here would be x plus 5 squared plus y plus 2 squared equals 4 squared, which is 16. Now, sometimes we're given information about a circle that's not in graphing form. So when it's not in graphing form, we need to complete the square, which is what we did yesterday. The only difference with completing the square now is that there's two variables. So I'm going to organize this by first moving over my number. That was 12. It needs to get to the other side. I'm also going to rewrite this where I'm grouping the x and y's together. So for my x's, I have x squared plus 10x, plus I need to leave a blank for completing the square, plus y squared plus 6y, plus a blank for completing the square, equals, and then I have -6 minus 12, which is -18, and I need to add a blank for each part of completing the square. So for the x's, to complete the square, I need to look at my b value, which is 10. I need to divide that by 2 and square it. So 10 divided by 2 is 5. Squared is 25. So I'm going to add 25 to both sides. For the y value, it's 6. So half of 6 is 3. Squared is 9. So I'm also going to add 9 to both sides. So now that I have my information, I need to factor this. So remember, I can factor it as x plus 5 and x plus 5, which would just get me x plus 5 squared. And for y, I would get y plus 3 and y plus 3, which is y plus 3 squared, equals, I'm going to combine my numbers. So I get -18 plus 25 plus 9, which is equal to 16. Now that I'm in a circle equation, I can identify the center and the radius. So in this case, based on the equation, my center would be at -5, -3, and my radius would be at the square root of 16, which is 4. So let's try one more example. So in number 10, I need to move the constant 10 to the other side and organize my x's and y's together. So I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides and organize my x and y's together. So I have x squared plus 16x plus blank plus y squared minus 8y plus blank equals 30 minus 10 is 20, and then I need two blanks to complete the square. One for x and one for y. So first I'm going to complete the square root of x. So my b term by the x is 16. 16 divided by 2 is 8. Squared is 64. So I'm going to add 64 to both sides. For my y value, -8 divided by 2 is -4. Squared is 16. So now I'm going to factor. What multiplies to 64 and adds to 16? I would get x plus 8 and x plus 8. So I can say x plus 8 squared plus squared equals, and when I add 20 plus 64 plus 16, I get 100. So now I can use this equation to identify the center and the radius. So in this case, my center would be -8, 4, because I need to take the opposite signs of those numbers. And my radius is the square root of 100, which is 10.